If you can hear that loud beeping sound, that's telling us we're fully energized. Our car here is fully energized. You'll notice the doll sitting in the car. We call her Sally. What this represents is sometimes you've heard people talk about lightning striking and being in your car. A lot of times people hit power lines. They may fall on the vehicle. You may be in the vicinity of a power line. We always encourage our public to always remain in their vehicles if at all possible. The electricity will flow around the car. Outside the car here we have a superhero. In this case it's Batman, but Batman has a weakness, electricity. So he wants to save Sally here. The electricity flowed right through his hand, went through his body, and to the ground, which is what we're standing on. This is why we stress the importance of staying in your vehicle, if at all possible, if you know you're in the vicinity of power lines or if they're laying on your vehicle. What we are going to do is we're going to take this car loose from our primary so we can do the rest of our switching here. The line has been opened from the switch that Scott has opened. So our line now is de-energized. We're going to take a moment. We're going to remove these things out of our way so we can continue the rest of our switching. Good? Yeah. Which one are you going to do first, Scott? Your glove. Your glove. Okay, next on our demo, earlier I was talking about the rubber gloves and the purposes they serve. As linemen, we rely on these every day to get us home to our families and to keep us safe. Our team member Scott here on the end of this piece of wire, he has a glove just like you see I'm wearing. It doesn't have a cover on it, but nonetheless it's a rubber glove. He's on the ground wire there, on the neutral. He's going to reach up and touch that primary, but as you can see, nothing happens. It does not draw an arc. That's what we want to see. We want to make sure our gloves are in good working order. What we'll grab next will be a glove that has a hole in it. This particular case, this glove has a hole in the finger. This is why we check our gloves and we rely on our gloves to protect us every day. Let's see if we get the same results when we touch the line this time. As you can see, the electricity flowed right through the glove. It did not protect at all because it has a hole in it. Electricity is very hot. It can burn someone very bad. It burns from the inside out. So if you make contact, it would be equivalent to having a hot dog cooking in the microwave. In this case, we have a hot dog, which is going to represent human flesh. Let's see what happens if someone were to get their hand into it. Good deal. That's what can happen if human flesh comes in contact with primary or any animal. That's why we always, again, stress the importance of our rubber gloves. Next, we have a snake. Most people don't like snakes, but either way, sometimes snakes find their ways up on the power lines. He's going to crawl on that neutral and then stick his head up in the primary. Now that snake just happens to be made out of rubber, but you can see the rubber's actually melting and burning. That's how hot that electrical arc is that he caused when he touched that wire. Next thing here, we have a ladder. We try to tell our public, always be aware of where they're putting ladders. Make sure they're not putting it around power lines or power poles. See what kind of results we get. Just like that, you can see electricity flowing through. This is an aluminum ladder. Some ladders are fiberglass, some are wooden, but either way, we always encourage our public to stay away from power lines with ladders. Scott is going to take his hot stick and do some switching here. He's going to open the switch. What this will do is take this section of the line and de-energize it. Next thing, we're going to demonstrate what a fuse does inside these switches when it has a fault. It will blow in two and most of the time be very loud. We have a lot of wildlife sometimes that happen to get onto power lines, so we try to protect the wildlife as well as our equipment, but in this case our equipment is not protected. That is a piece of wire inside that fuse barrel that has burnt in two. That's why you get that loud sound. Scott's going to change those out. If you can look behind me as well, you will see where Scott's at, you'll see a snake on the top wire. Over here, there's a bird. Nothing will happen to either one of them throughout this demonstration because they are only on our primary wire. They're not touching anything of a different potential. They're not touching ground. Therefore, nothing will happen to them during this demonstration. On the ground here, these orange flat things we have laying out here, these are called blankets. We use those to stand on to isolate us from our demo trailer here. We also use these up in the lines when we're working to help protect us as linemen. Next, we're going to demonstrate our underground. Over here on this end of our demo, there's a piece of wire coming off of our trailer. Normally these wires are buried under the ground. People can't see them. So what happens a lot of times is people will dig into them. In this case, Scott here is going to make a fence, digging a hole, and he gets into it. And you see the results. It's shorted out. He got electrical burn most likely, and our fuse has blown. We always encourage our public, our customers, to call 811 before they dig to make for sure this doesn't happen. You will also see on the lines back here, there's two orange pieces of rubber. We call those hoses. That insulates that wire and protects us as linemen when we work. Scott is going to use his hot stick. He's going to do some more switching. You see over here, there's a light bulb burning at the bottom of this house. There's also a meter. That tells us that electricity is flowing through the lines. This is going to represent anyone's house. The lights are burning, the line is on. This section over here, house number 2, there's also a bulb below that house, but it is not on. What that indicates here is our switch in the center is in the open position. Our line over here is energized, but because this is open, there is no power flowing through this section of primary. That is why sometimes your neighbor's lights may be on and yours may be off. You might be on a different section of line. Scott is going to use a balloon here, and what we want people to understand is electricity can flow through many different things. In this case, children a lot of times play with balloons or kites, things of that matter. And you see our light bulb is off over here, but what Scott's going to do is put this on the end of that hot stick, and he is going to put that in the gap of where that switch is. And you should see the light come on house number 2 when that happens. There you go. Next thing we're going to demonstrate is back behind us. You'll notice the light on this house here is on. What this indicates is behind us, this section of wire is energized. But our switch in the middle here is open, so this section of line will be de-energized, which is why the light is not on at house number 2. We're going to demonstrate how electricity can flow through various things, including wood. This is why we try to keep our right-of-way cut around the power lines. We want to make for sure that there are no limbs close by that can burn or get into the line. But behind us, we're going to show you how electricity can flow through something as simple as a limb. If you can look at house number 2, the light is coming on. Electricity is flowing through that little limb. Could also be a toy. It could be various things. Next thing we're going to demonstrate is what happens to a limb when it stays on the line for a period of time. As you can tell, it's starting to smoke. In a moment, it should catch fire. You can see some of the limbs actually catching fire. This is why we keep our right-of-way trimmed back, as well as encouraging people to not cut limbs, make sure there's no power lines around, making sure that they stay safe. Next thing here we're going to demonstrate is a hose. This is a fireman hose, but it can be any hose. People don't think about things like that. Normally, So in this case, we have a hose. Let's see what happens. We put it up in our primary. As you can see, it's smoked up, tried to catch fire. This is why we encourage people to always be aware of their surroundings. A storm could have come through, knocked the power line low, so it can be right there at head level. So always be aware. What are you going to do next? Next thing we're going to demonstrate is a meter base. Every house, every building has a meter on the side that tells us how much electricity is flowing, how much kilowatt hours they're using. This is how we meter what we do, how much is being used, but the problem is a lot of these meters are right there on the side of your house, very close to where somebody could get a hold of them. Sometimes they can be damaged. In this case over here we have house number 1 and the cover's gone and the meter has been removed. But let's say somebody is putting their hand in, let's see what could happen. And as you can see, all it takes is a second and the damage is done. You can be electrocuted. We always encourage people to stay away from the meter center area. If they see any damage, to call your power company to come in and replace it. The last thing we will do is we will open all of our switches, ensuring that our line is de-energized. We'll turn off our generator. We will test the line always before we apply our ground set or our grounding strap. Our high voltage tester says that the line is de-energized. Therefore, Scott is able to attach that ground set, grounding the 2 wires together to ensure that they do not become energized and that we are protected and able to work on our line and on our demo trailer back here. That includes our demo, and we appreciate the attention or something. That concludes. Let's do that. That concludes our demo.
And just do it one more time. That concludes our demo. Thanks for watching.
Okay. That concludes. He cut me off. Whenever you're ready.
We're rolling.
And that concludes our demo. Thank you for watching.